It's obviously a very interesting time, and what we all thought was 2 weeks is now becoming 4 weeks, and God knows if it's going to be 8 weeks or 10 weeks. And everyone here is probably thinking about the same problem, which is, how am I going to make money? How am I going to grow? How am I going to develop? How am I going to be better? And so for me, what we've done is, a lot of you have reached out to me personally. So there are some new faces that are here. And then we did this session about 2 weeks ago where, through Alex and his marketing, what he's doing in his company, and myself, we started to want to do mentor sessions to kind of put together what we're talking about, our skill set. Obviously on my end, we're trying to develop modules. There's no charge to anybody that's here. There'll never be a charge from anybody here. It's just that you reached out to me individually. And so I want to do my duty as a good human being and try to distill some knowledge without you paying whatever these guys charge out there in this world, which doesn't make any sense to me anyways. But it's only going to help me grow my brand and your brand and anything we're trying to do. And the objective is to teach you basic skill sets that you guys have questions about. It's to teach you guys basic things that you guys all want to learn, ask questions, answer questions. I have 4 specific topics that I'm going to talk about that are personally about business. If we want to talk about personal stuff, we can do that too, and kind of work from there, right? Develop a network and share each other's growth and go from there. And it's to give hope. I mean, it's very hard right now to have any hope. It's very negative out there. And most of you are trying to figure out a new skill set. And now you're forced to sit with yourself. But the one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to have an issue where you're starting to look at yourself and wondering if this is the person that you want to be, right? And really kind of dealing with some issues that, like, you're like, whoa, where did this come from? Or maybe I don't like myself too much, or things like that. And I tell this all the time. There's absolutely no business knowledge, and there's no amount of success or money, or you can be on Forbes 12 times like I've been on, and host ESPN parties and hang out with celebrities and find the love of your life, and you could be completely empty and happy because you're not happy with the person you are. So our development is not just so much business as it is as a human being, and it applies to you specifically. And we've picked and choose a couple people we want to work with, and certain people, if they're not on, they're not on, and if they're on, they're on. That's okay. But we want to really kind of shrink it down to core people that are really going to be down to teach this program and become ambassadors. And who knows? Maybe I'll end up investing in your company or vice versa. So it's growth and development and character, right? And that's really what I teach. Obviously, I'm hoping everyone's listened to at least one of my podcasts. If anything, the first podcast would be extremely helpful and knowledgeable, because you'll get to know about me, and the second one's about positivity, the third one's about ego. And then we get into talking about all these amazing people that I know who all have the same thing, which is they're all nice and they want to help and they want to work with people, right? That's the big thing for them. So I say that because this is things that you have to deal with and go from there. And today, the first thing I said last week, when I don't know if you did this or you didn't do this, but for a lot of you out there who did do this, it would be good to know is your perspective list. Last week 2 weeks ago, we talked about your personal perspective, right? Everything you're grateful for. That's the foundation. That's the technique. And so anyone that's joining me this week, it's so simple to be negative because negative is easier than being positive. It's so simple to be angry and vengeful than it is to be at peace and try to do the right thing. It's so easy to hustle and lie and get people to pay money. And out of the 1,000 people that you're going to hit, maybe 100 are going to do well, and 50 are going to do well. Those 50 are going to be making a ton of money, but you're making money. It's doing things the right way and a good moral code that you can be proud of when you talk to people, or when you look at your mother. That's what it's all about. It's about growing and developing and being a happy individual before anything else. And that's what the Pananomics idea is, the podcast is about. And it took me a lot of money and a lot of screwed up things that I've done to realize and to be enlightened and say, okay, this is the path I want to lead. And it's different for everybody, right? And if you have any individual questions that you don't feel comfortable talking about with the group, you do what you do best, just DM me and I'll do my best to answer it, accordingly. So I want to say that, and I want to encourage you guys. And now more than ever, if you're not finding yourself super busy, then you're doing something wrong. And that's okay. You might be lost, but our goal is to help guide you back and work with you to do that, to get that, so you can understand everything that's there, right? So the first thing is perspective. One thing I tell everyone, and what it is your perspective. Everything that you are grateful for on a piece of paper every night on one column, just what you're grateful for. Being alive, having a place to live, not what you're worried about next month, what you're grateful now. Your parents, your friends, your family, mentor sessions, things like this. So when you write your perspective, it's everything that you like and that you enjoy, everything that you're grateful for, and every single day you add onto that list. What does that do? The first thought in your mind is being grateful. You're just grateful. You wake up in the morning and you're grateful, right? And you start realizing that all the stuff that you have that's not necessarily materialistic and financially is more than most people have. And if you can't learn the basic goods and do the basic goods, you'll never be good. Because like I said this 2 weeks ago, you can't be fully good and you can't be fully bad. You can't be half and half. Good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. And so to understand your perspective and to understand how important it is to learn and to grow and to be grateful for what you have, the reality is you're all on the internet, you're all doing a mentor session, you all want to grow and develop, you all have a place to live, you all have something to eat, you're way ahead of 99% of the people in the world. You have a support system. Most people don't even have that. So those are the things and the values and the cores that you should definitely putting down. And I call that perspective paperwork. And it's just once a day, reviewing what you have, and that's important. The next thing, obviously we want to talk a little bit about what we're doing in business and things like that. So I want to talk about, I did a last post yesterday or 2 days ago, and my post basically discussed the opportunities of what social media is and how it is your new resume. So nowadays, let me tell you about just even the last 2 days of conversations. This morning I was on with the head of the MAC conference to do an esports thing. Then I talked to Sports Illustrated, and then I talked to Jeremy Roanoke, who played hockey, and then I talked to Lance Briggs, who played football, to come in. And then I'm trying to close a deal with Mass, while still trying to run the restaurants and still trying to build downtown spaces. And as I was doing all that, and I was going through and circulating my time and said, look, you're gonna spend 2 hours right now trying to help mentor and grow other people. My first thought was, you're doing this because you care to help. And one announcement I'm going to make very, very soon, but I'll tell everyone in the group, is I got asked to teach at SMU in their esports program this upcoming summer, next summer, and this upcoming fall, to be a professor. As most of you know, I'm a college dropout. So to be a professor, to teach at SMU at the esports program as a college dropout, that should provide you one thing, which is hope, which means the way that we were taught systematically in school and life, you can still work around it to get there. Although I don't encourage you not to finish school, but I'm just trying to point out that there are ways that you can work around it. And the reason they know me is because of the following. How I got this gig. I was rallying and racing cars for fun. As most of you know, I like doing that, cross country. And I talk to everyone. I don't care if you drive a Lamborghini. I don't care if you drive a truck. I don't care if you're 80. I don't care if you're 18. I talk to everyone, and I'm just nice. Hey, I'm David. Nice to meet you, blah, blah. I do the intro. I introduce myself. Because everyone, when you meet people, they're all uncomfortable. See, right now, you all know me. I am the core, but you don't know each other. If you're not reaching out to the people that are here and adding them to your network, you've already made the first mistake, right? Because you all have the same core. And you don't know what's going to develop from this core. And most people here aren't going to risk trying to screw the other person over, because if I find out, Alex finds out, you're off of this. We'll bring someone else on. There's hundreds of people that want to do this with us. You've been chosen because we believe in you and your skill set and in what you're trying to do. So that's the first thing. And what happened was, I met a guy named Derek who met me in the rally. I just kind of talked to him, added him on Facebook, social media. Wasn't trying to be the cool guy. If you add me and I know you, I'll add you back, and started chit-chatting. And what ended up happening through Derek was he introduced me to his teacher called Dr. Mac. And Dr. Mac added me in their blockchain crypto group. Now, what's interesting about the story is, for 1 year of me making little comments, when you put a comment on social media, I'm sure you heard it from Gary, but I'll tell you, you have to add value comments. And it has to be very, very quick. So most of the celebrities that I talk to, even if they're following me, within that first 2-3 minutes, if you're not trying to interact with them very quickly and just say something of value, I loved your show. I loved your song. I love that you're teaching this. They won't see you, but at least they start seeing you, they'll start remembering what's going on. That's the first thing that I did in social media. The second thing is, as soon as I started talking about the blockchain group that was closed, and I was the only non-SMU member, and I was talking about different things that happened, I put articles on. But before I did anything else and spewed everything I knew, I watched the environment. The biggest mistake in business is you talk too much and you talk first. That's why whatever you're pitching and you're doing in business, it's always a no initially, because you don't even have them convinced. You have them convinced enough to come here out of obligation or listening. But unless they really understand what's going on, you're not going to get the sell, you're not going to close the deal, you're not going to get investment, you're not going to get the record, your name's not going to go out. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. They have to like you. So what I did was, when I went into that thing, I watched for 3 weeks what was going on, the different viewpoints, right? Are they purist? Are they not purist? Then I made my thing. You have to listen and view. So in meetings, the very first thing I do is I ask them about themselves. Keanu, why don't you tell me about yourself? Sebastian, why don't you tell me about yourself? Rudy, why don't you tell me about yourself? You know why? Because now I know who I'm dealing with and at what level, right? Always ask, then talk. Then you can find out there are 3 types of people in this world when it comes to sales and business. And I'm going to tell you what the 3 are. And this is 100% true. People are looking for fame. Think about that. Name. People are here to make money and don't care about their name. Okay, that's the second type, right? And the third, people are here to learn and grow. When you are doing sales and business and in life, you have to identify what of the 3 they are. Because if you're pitching fame to someone who doesn't care 2 F's about fame, they're not going to talk about long-term strategy, how to grow production process, how to make things happen. They want to know how they're going to make money very quickly. And you're never going to learn that if you talk first and not listen first, right? You can identify. This is called EQ. EQ, I always tell people my IQ is okay, but my EQ is off the charts. That's why I want to see faces. Because if most of you have had one-on-one sessions with me, I can look at your face and I pretty quickly can tell whether you're with it or not with it just by seeing how your face looks and your body and how you react. That's important. And in sales, this is what helps me close billion-dollar deals and million-dollar deals, and how I can talk to celebrities and have friends who I'm partners with. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, part of FaceTime, Jimmy Iovine, the founder of Beats and Def Jam, just put in $5 million into one of the companies I own. You listen. You don't tell Jimmy Iovine how to run radio. You don't tell Jimmy Iovine how to mess with 50 Cent. You don't tell Jimmy Iovine how to do Drake. I know nothing about that stuff. The pitch is, we're in esports, this is different, here's how we're going to do it. Right? Everyone has their field. You know, you have to know that. When I was at Mark Wahlberg's house pitching him about Faceland, I asked him what his favorite movie was. I didn't ask him about the process because he was here to learn about business. So you have to identify those 3 things. And if you're not writing stuff down, you're already losing knowledge, because reality is 20% of what I tell you you're going to retain, 10% you're going to use, 5% will be consistent, and that other 80% of valuable knowledge in the hour and a half you're going to be spending here with me will be a waste of your time. Unless you read it, write it, practice it, go from there. Repetition is key, and consistency is the reason you win or lose. Consistency. Consistency, that's it. That's the key word. That means you go to if you're trying to work out, you go to the gym every single day, right? If you're trying to make money, you have to consistently do it. Not when you don't feel like it, not during a sick day. Think of it as if you had a child and that child was 3 years old and you're the only person to watch it. Do you have a day off? Can you sit there and say, I'm sick today, I'm being lazy, I'm gonna watch Netflix instead? No. So fundamentally, you already have the core value of being consistent. Now you must apply that in business and in life. If you wanna be nice, you have to consistently be nice. If you wanna be positive, you have to consistently be surrounded by positive things and positive people and positive TV and positive music and positive words of influence on your social media. We're already surrounded by negative stuff. So what we're holding on is the hope. After you listen to someone and you understand their core business and their core values and what you can and you can't discuss, the most important thing that any business person is looking for is I am consistent, right? I have my days I'm lazy, And I say this, I have my 4 days out of my 30 and I'm just like, I'm cool. I'm human. It's not perfect. You're all gonna feel this way. But I hold myself accountable for the rest of those days, right? This is the time I'm starting, here's what time I'm ending, and I don't finish until it's done. That's the difference between making millions and being broke. That's the difference between a supplier knowing that they can count on you and someone saying that they can't count on you. It's consistency. And consistency doesn't just fall in business, it falls in relationships. Think about how many relationships you've been in. Starts off great. Then they become inconsistent. They're no longer opening the doors. They're no longer pulling out the chairs. They're no longer saying nice things to you because the reality is you don't give enough. That's no different than business. That's why I said the Pananomics thing is core life. And with that core, you just pop it out and you put it into business. It has to be consistent. Same thing with friendships. The reason things are failing is because this friendship doesn't deserve the time that this friendship deserves. Remember, one of the most important quotes I've heard, and I'm going to share with everyone today, is this one. Relationships are like the bank. You have to deposit in first in order to withdraw. Think about that. Right now I'm depositing into your accounts. I'm giving you free advice. I'm spending time. You're depositing into my account because you're taking an hour or two out of your day to share what I am teaching. That's consistent, right? That's consistency, right? If you deposit in and when you want something back and it's less than what you put in, it's because you didn't do everything you had to do. So in anything in life, the deposit, friendships, business, family, significant others, mom and dad, you have to deposit into withdraw, right? That's important. When you deposit and withdraw and you go back to that scenario where you're sitting there and you're listening to that person talk in business, what happens then? Now you're going to deposit into them an emotional attachment. What is our emotional attachment right now? For most of you, it's either you've heard me talk, you see my social media, and that investment into you is extremely important. Now that you've done that, you're really going to be able to put in the value and the time and everything that you have to do, and you have to be relatable. So what I like to do when I talk in business is, as I'm listening, I don't jump into the sales and the tactics of how I'm going to make money. What I jump into is I talk about you. How do I do that? Before any meeting, I Google the person. I go onto social media. I look them up. I look at their political views on Twitter. I look at the business things they share on LinkedIn. I look at the stuff that they value on Instagram. And guess what I don't do after I listen to them talk? I don't talk about anything they don't like. That's sales. Sales is convincing you have the best product and you're the best person. And this is how I close billion-dollar deals and won awards all around the world, because you have to consistently have some sort of a relationship with them, right? The longer term business, 20% of your business will give you 80% of your profits. You've heard that. It's true because your 20% is your core. So for me, the 20 people that are online are more valuable to me than the 200 people that reach out to me in a week, because the 20 people I'm investing in and they're going to withdraw and vice versa, so we can grow each other as a company as a whole and whatever you're all trying to do. It's an investment. So you have to have that relationship. If you can't identify anything with that person, guess what? You probably shouldn't be doing business with them, because their character and your character aren't aligned. So I've done this where I've walked in a meeting and in 15 minutes, I knew for a fact this isn't the right person. I ended the meeting and I apologize. I wasted the time. You can't convince someone to buy anything, to sell anything, if you're not consistent, if you don't deposit, but if you don't believe in it and you don't have an emotional attachment to it, right? That's what it is. That's why you go on and you're influencing you buy things. The other part of that really is the management side. They want to know that you have good management. The reason I sit on 8 boards is because of what I've done in my past. The Deloitte partnership, the things I've invested in. When they look at my resume, they see it. But here's the most important, shocking part of all. The amount of people that don't like my stuff, that I don't really see viewing. Because you've done it, right? You go on Instagram, you got 500 likes, and then you go in your story and you have like 5,000 people watching. You're like, what the heck? That means 4,500 people are investigating you. They don't, maybe they're haters, maybe they're not haters, maybe they're friends, maybe not friends, but they're investigating to see what you're all about. You know how many times in a meeting I have heard, David, I love your positivity and your ambitions and the things that you put out in the world? Do you know how many times I've heard that? Every single time I'm in a meeting. That's why I say you are your brand. If your brand is, I am a business person all, but I have good character morale, like I'm trying to do, then you're kind of off the cusp with everything. If your brand is, I'm going to be a fitness person and all I'm going to do is talk about fitness, then boy, you better talk about fitness because that's your brand. You can't just put up photos of yourself. What is your real add value? How can you really deposit in to what we're trying to do to make it grow, right? My add value is when I say something like this and Steven makes a comment on my Instagram, or if I tag you in something, I'm expecting you to make a comment. I'm not expecting you to make a comment because I want you to acknowledge that I spent the time thinking about you and I tagged you. I want you to spend the time acknowledging me that you can make a comment back about what I said to you. That's acknowledgement. That's deposit. That's how every relationship works. Doesn't matter if it's a 4-year-old or an 80-year-old business. And that is a form of good management because ultimately the reason people work with people is they have to like them and believe in them. It's that simple. Good management is why when you hear names like Bill Gates is on a board, you're like, you might not even use Microsoft, but you hear that name, you're like, automatically, this guy knows what he's doing, right? Good management is key. That's how you have to think. And bringing them on as good management is key to success because they are the core and the value, and they'll give you the credibility. So one of my boards, my esports board, let me talk about who's on my board. And I'm gonna break down to you strategically why I picked these people. On my board sits Jimmy B. Jimmy B's family, basically, he's in esports. His best friend is Larry Jackson, who is the head of Apple Content and Music, is a friend of mine. That means anything on Apple, if I want it on there, I can make one phone call. That's how big this guy is. And Jimmy's family is the attorneys for Cardi B, Offset, Travis Scott, and Kanye, and he's heavy in esports. He's on my board, legal. Then Marcus King. Marcus King made Jamie Foxx Jamie Foxx. Marcus King knows everybody in the producing area. Marcus King is huge, and he has radio sector. These are all friends of mine too. And Marcus came in, and he's doing production side, right? So now I have attorney, entertainment, production, because esports is video games, right? The third person I have in is Mari Takashi. She is in Smosh Gaming. She does Smosh videos. She has 5 million views on YouTube. She started the gaming thing. When it was Olivia Munn was popping up, she was popping up. She's in there too. So now I have my gamers, right? I have my attorney. I have a producer. Then I added Steve Babcock. Steve made Gary's VaynerMedia Marketing what it was today. He ran the whole thing. As you know, Steve and I did the Super Bowl commercial together with A-Rod and Charlie Sheen last year, right? The one I put together. And Steve's also a partner of mine, but Steve's a creative side. He's won every marketing award in the world, and he's obviously in my Panoram's podcast as well. Then I added Gary Kitchen, who invented Atari and Donkey Kong and was vice president of Nickelodeon. And the last person I added was Lavelle Walker, the head of esports for MGM International. So I have a producer, I have an attorney, I have an OG player, I have an OG developer, right? I have the head of esports gambling and myself, a shareholder of Face Clan and whatever else I've done. And that's my core board. And if you're in gaming, you're like, why do you have these people? Oh shit, you have the OG guy, you have this and this person, and everything there. That's how you structure your board. And that's how you find good management. Good management is not your best friend, your mom, your dad, your cousin. That's not good management. That's you being emotional. That's bad business. Good management is finding the best people that you can work with that have the most influence. But even if they sign on to you, you have to make them believe, because again, you have to constantly deposit in order to withdraw. You have to update them, let them know what's going on. And you have to make the adjustments. The way I talk to Sebastian is not to be the way I'm going to talk to Ashley, which is not the way I'm going to be talking to Mike, right? It's all different. So your ability to make those adjustments is key in maintaining those relationships. And where you fail is you're inconsistent. And where I failed in is because I don't constantly hit up these people, because Rudy might not be giving me what I want to hear, but Ron is, and therefore Rudy doesn't get as much attention. That's wrong. You never know what they're doing in the woodworks. So constant attention and having a good board makes sense. Any questions on good management? Okay, I'm gonna go next one. Financial understanding. Again, 2 days ago, I put up an article that I was on about financial understanding. I was in another article today. I talk about the basics of financial understanding. If you do not have a basic accounting knowledge, you will never be a business person. I can promise that. Doesn't mean you have to be an expert in it, but you have to know what a liability is. You have to know what an asset is. You have to know how to leverage money, which I can get into detail. You have to know how interest rates work. You have to know what cost of goods and net profit is. The reason most entrepreneurs, including myself, fail is because of cash flow. You don't have enough cash. Think about this. How many times has a business opened up, the new bar, the new restaurant, right? All this hype, it's on social media. Everyone's talking about it. Blah, 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 blah. First month opens, and by month 2, it's closed. Why do you see that? Because they didn't have enough cash flow to last them as long as they're supposed to. They didn't, and you can write this down and analyze, okay, if I have 100 grand here and it's gonna cost me 50 grand to do this, I don't have 50 grand to go blow. This 50 grand has to last me 6 months, which is your minimum in any business. If you're gonna move out to LA and become a celebrity, if you're gonna go invest time, you need 6 months of money. That means you're gonna lose your effing ass for 6 months in order for you to do anything. That is the #1 cash flow rule, because on average, you will see that a company will dip between 3 to 6 months, and on that 6-month average, it will grow and make money. You'll plan it out. But that basis, the playbook, comes down to what? The financial statement and understanding. Now, most are gonna say, I've been a CFO, I ran the largest accounting firm, a $46 billion company, right at $30 million. I know numbers like the back of my hand. Clinton Sparks, for those of you who know that, he's the guy who founded Khaled and DJ Tiger and everybody. I mean, the guy did Lady Gaga's thing. He asked me 3 days ago to be a CFO of his company, his entertainment company. We're about to sign Yo Gotti in. Gotti's one of my business partners. Why? Because I understand financials. I look at a piece of paper, and within that 1 week, I can tell you, within that 15 minutes, I can tell you who's stealing, where we're losing money, why we're losing money, and how we're not hitting our goals. Now, for me to be an expert like that and to talk about this stuff on CNN and Yahoo and Financial Times and Wall Street Journal, do you know where I got this knowledge? Anybody want to chime in? Imagine part of the world's largest accounting firm, and I Googled it. I'm a college dropout. I Googled it. Those are real results. Being able to speak at CNN and Financial Times as a financial expert as a college dropout, I fucking Googled it. So, are you consistent in your growth, or are you just being a lazy person? Be honest with yourself, because at least now you know what you're working with, right? So once you have that good financial strategy, then when you guys are at that level and you're like, yo, can you now explain cash flow analysis? I'll tell you straightforward. If this pen costs $10, right? And I sold it for $20, how much money do I make? Anybody want to give me a financial answer on that one? You know the answer is not 10, right? That's why no one's saying anything. What's the answer? Okay, I'm gonna tell you what the answer is. Let me tell you what happens. This is what everyone does. Yo, I bought this at 10 bucks. I'm selling at 20 and I made $10. And then you look at your bank account and you're like, how did I lose all this money? Who's done that? I've done it. Raise your hand if that's happened to you in business. Come on, no, really? Ron, you gonna raise your hand? Let me tell you why that happens. You didn't financially analyze it. You didn't factor in that your fixed cost, which would be on your financial statement piece of paperwork, it's not cost of goods sold. It's not profit minus cost of goods sold, which equals profit. That's not how it works. It's the gas that I spent costs money. Because if I, David, stop sending this to the mail office and I have to hire Christina to go, Christina then is going to cost me 8% of my profits, or 10% of my profits, which is now $9. If I'm doing marketing, and that's 20%, I've now only made $7. Well, I need to pay taxes, 30%. That's $4. I have to pay my accountant and my attorney to review the work, $3. And that's why nobody makes money. Because you don't understand the basic core of your time and value. Think about that. And if you studied financial statements and Googled it, you would know that your costs are this amount. Because to scale a business is not that David can't talk to 30 people. What David's doing is he's investing in other people. And hopefully as we grow this brand and you're part of it, you're not only making money hand over foot in your own businesses, but in this business we're making money because now I'm replicating the model for you to go from there. But what's my cost? 2 hours every other week and some individual time to spend with people and go from there. That's my cost. And that's the basic of understanding good financials. Without knowing that, this is why companies in 6 months close. Any questions on that? If you want to be on the next session, I absolutely have to see next Thursday or the following time, your positive perspective paper. You don't have to show it to me, you have to go like this. I wrote it. So I know that you are actually implementing that. And then if each of you guys have a business you're looking at, do yourselves a favor and start writing and reviewing and understanding. If you have questions, you can hit me up and we'll go from there. Okay? Thanks for your time. Alex, thanks for setting this up. Guys, I will talk to you soon.